You turn any corner in New York City and there is a good-looking, smart-driven woman.
Agreed. But also, these youths, man, these women.
Oh, yeah.
Diabolical.
You think the women are savages?
I mean, destroying lives.
Welcome back to Drinks First, the podcast where you can match with New York City's Kinda Eligible. We're at one of New York City's most fun venues, Silver Lining Lounge, in the Moxy Lower East Side. They have live music and a DJ, and it's just one of the swankiest places in New York City. Today, we're going to be interviewing a really fun guest. Let's do it. Okay, welcome back to Drinks First. This is actually like one of my favorite places to come. I don't know if you've ever been here, but it gets really fun at night. I think it's like one of the more unique nights out you can have in the city. We are here today with an exciting guest. We're just gonna get right into it.
Let's do it.
Can you tell us a little bit about where you're from and where you live now and how old you are?
Yeah. I'm from the Upper East Side in New York City. Right now I live in Williamsburg and I am 31.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what do you do for work?
I'm a photographer and event producer.
And did you go to college?
Yeah, I went to Franklin and Marshall and then I went to Brooklyn Law.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, lawyer?
The switch over.
Yeah. Are you
It
still
was
doing law?
No. Full stop quit 2 years ago.
Okay. And so
Yeah.
you've been a photographer and event producer for 2 years?
Yeah.
All right. How does that happen?
Right before the city shut down during COVID, I had just accepted a job offer, maybe 2 weeks before the city shut down, quit my job, gave them notice, and then everything went to shit. And my new job is like, sorry, we can't actually hire you at all. So I was one of the less well-behaved people during COVID.
Sure.
And I started bringing out a disposable camera. I was a little dispo girly for a bit, and it kind of just spiraled into this thing. My aunt was a film photographer, so when I started taking it more seriously, I had a bunch of stuff already that I didn't have to buy, which is usually half the battle, is being do I care enough to
invest in? Yeah.
So I kind of skipped that part, which was cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then it just took off. What kind of photography do you do?
Yeah, I do a lot of nightlife photography. I was out and about already, and so it kind of was just me going to places I already was going to, and they're like, "Oh, cool, you have a camera now."
Yeah.
And that was it.
I feel like you were maybe early to that wave because now everybody kind of does that, but I feel like the people who are successful in it now brought their cameras around with them a few years ago, and nightlife photography has proven to be really in demand. Yeah. I feel like in the last few years. Have you seen that shift or not really?
For sure. I mean, social media, needing content, even brands and companies needing way more of a visual aspect to everything. I had one friend who had a dispo page for years, well before the wave, and I thought it was so cool. And now obviously she works in social media and stuff and is crushing it, but it was 10 years ago she was doing the dispo thing, and I was like, this is so dumb, why are you do this? And now here we are.
Here we are. Well, I feel like you and I had a pretty similar upbringing, which I think is funny. Yeah. What was growing up in the city like?
I think it was awesome. A lot of people have differing opinions. It's been a red flag that I am from the Upper East Side.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, why?
I've gotten, it's either the reaction is either that's the coolest thing I've ever heard, or so what's your issue? What happened to you? And I'm like, those are both equally
valid. Yeah.
They're no rehab, no, and I'm somehow
not yet.
I escaped,
Yeah.
There's time. No, but I loved it.
Did you go to private school the whole time?
Yeah. I just thought it was you just have access to things. You are constantly overwhelmed with people all of the time, and there's no matter how hard you try, you are exposed to more than you would be exposed to otherwise.
Yeah, totally.
You see your first naked homeless man when you're like 8.
Yeah.
You know, so like just like everything I loved about it. I had a little Jersey basement party phase when I was 16.
Like you were going out to Jersey?
Oh my god, 100%. Like
what,
every
like on
weekend.
The path?
I would take I was taking like the New Jersey Transit, like an hour plus to New Jersey, and then I would take like a $250 cab home, just so I could stay out past like the last train.
Yeah.
Because I was 16 and club culture, everyone was older, and when you think about it, all of my friends in hindsight, we talk about this all the time, where you're 16 years old, the only way to get into a club is to get a table at that point. So we're paying this absurd amount of money, that's not really ours anyway.
Yeah.
Just to go hang out with people that want nothing to do with us, especially as a guy.
Yeah.
The girls your age don't want anything to do with you, and the older girls don't want anything to do with you, so you just paid to stand there.
Yeah.
And in New Jersey, I was the coolest person ever.
Sure.
They didn't know where to get drugs. They didn't know, nobody had a fake ID.
Yeah.
And they actually wanted to sleep with me.
How did you, like, get into the Jersey scene?
Summer camp.
Okay.
Big summer camp kid.
Okay.
Yeah, I did the whole New York City private school thing.
Like Jewish summer camp?
Super Jewish.
Okay.
Super Jewish.
Yeah, that is so funny.
Yeah.
And it's funnier because people can't see what you look like.
That is true.
You're not Jewish.
Oh no, very not Jewish.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, like, obviously because I was a girl, things were different. Like, we could go to, like, I would go clubbing in the meatpacking district at, like, 16, 17, 18, because we would go with promoters.
Yeah.
And, like, obviously underage girls, that was, like, the only way you were getting into clubs.
Exactly.
Except I had, like, strict Indian parents, and by the time I was 18, my curfew was still, like, midnight.
No way.
Oh, yeah. And that was a struggle. So I would go out, like, you would meet a promoter, they would walk you into the club at 11 when it opens and it's empty.
Yeah.
And
45 minutes.
I literally 30 minutes to 45 minutes, and then I had to get the fuck out of there. Like, I never, like, I was in these spaces. Like, I went to fucking Up and Down and One Oak and whatever, but I never really, like, got to fully experience it because I had to go home for curfew.
Oh, yeah. My mom was, like, she was very, I think she had that, like, idea of, like, if you're gonna, like, live in this world, like, I'm going to allow you. I honestly, like, didn't get drunk until I was 16. I think I got drunk, like, once when I was 15 at summer camp.
Yeah.
And then it was, like, I had this, like, weird fear because I saw so many of my friends, like, before I had the chance to, like, freak out, like, whatever. And I had this crazy control thing. I would, like, pour one drink.
Yeah.
And I would just, like, nurse that drink the entire night. And my mom was very, like, super strict. All my friends knew. But I could kind of come home whenever as long as she knew where I was.
Yeah, I also think, like, you're a guy. So
yeah.
it makes
I was
it a
also
little
very
different.
economical. Even, like, in 8th grade, I'd be, like, out to, like, 11, and I would literally run. My mom would give me money to, like, flag a cab, and I would time it, and I legit would run home. From, like, I'd be, like, at a girl's house, and I'd be like, oh, shit, it's 11. And I would keep the cash, and I would, like, keep pocketing it over the time. And I would, like, I remember running home from a girl's house on the Upper West Side through Central Park at, like, 1 o'clock in the morning.
to like, pocket the cash that she had
And my mom's
given
like,
you.
why are you sweating? It's hot. She's like, it's December. It's just hot where I was, the cab.
So you went to all boys school, right?
Yeah.
So how were you meeting girls?
Well, I went to a co-ed school before that.
Okay.
Which was definitely helpful.
Yeah.
Everyone went somewhere else
Different
too,
schools.
which was really nice
Yeah,
to, like,
so then
have,
you're
like,
connected to everyone.
yeah.
Yeah.
Plus sports. I was good at sports, thank God, because I was such a nerd. I really, like, seriously, if I was not good at basketball, I would be, like, bully suspect number 1. Like, thank God for
So
sports.
you played basketball in high school?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I think a lot of people don't understand the New York City private school system is like very interconnected. I went to all girls school. Also, there are like a ton of all girls schools and like basically 2 all boys schools that matter.
2.5. I was having this fight with someone who told me they went to Xavier the other day.
Oh,
and I was like,
yeah.
You're a half.
Fine,
You're a half
Xavier
school.
and Regis can be like one, one together, and then there's like Browning and Collegiate.
Yeah.
That's
Agreed.
kind of it. Like, I don't even know if I would barely count Xavier and Regis, because like certain people were like in the scene, but not everybody was like integrated in the scene. So it's not like they went to Frost Valley.
Wow.
Deep
Jesus.
cut.
That was a really deep cut. That hurt.
Frost Valley was like this camp experience that all of the kids in interschool, which is the private
all the
schools,
single-sex schools.
all the single-sex private schools, go on basically a camping trip together for one weekend. And it's the first time that a lot of men are interacting with women and a lot of women are interacting with men.
It's also triple the amount of women
Yes.
there are to men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Like, there's like 400 girls and 100 guys. It's pretty bad, honestly.
I mean, it's good for you guys. I feel
We
like...
loved it. I was a troublemaker. I got letters. Me and my friends got letters written home
Yeah.
to the entire interschool.
What did you do?
They had this thing. It was like they said this is a safe space, and the whole thing was like you weren't being monitored during like your activities by your teachers. They also kind of got a vacation.
Yeah.
So like everything was supposed to be like a safe space. These like camp counselors that don't actually know you aren't supposed to report back, and they asked us to like act out a story. And me and my friends took it upon ourselves to act out a very old New York City legend story that was very inappropriate.
Which story?
And you get paired with random people too. So we told the story of the guy who brought his girlfriend up to his dad's Hampton house. And they had anal, and she shat all over everything. And he blamed it on the dog, and the dad killed the dog.
Oh my God.
We acted this out in front of 150 people.
Did you think that was a good idea?
Well, we had this like weird girl, just as you're saying, right? We get paired with these random people.
Yeah.
And this weird girl who were like, okay, she's very socially awkward. We had her play the girl because we were like, they'll just like stand next to each other. And like one of my friends who was insane, like they're just going to stand next to each other and be like, oh, we're having sex. This very strange girl, when we start telling the story, suddenly gets on all fours in the middle of the room. And we were like, even me and my friend who were like wait, what? That is not what we planned. It was really bad.
That's diabolical.
No, it was like full length like letter to the entire interschool went out. And it was my fault.
That's so funny.
Yeah. It was like a whole thing. Like I had a really big basketball game like the next week. And a news reporter like asked me about it, and I wasn't allowed to say anything.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know what they're talking about. What's anal?
Like, was it the New York Post?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have no idea what anal sex is. I'm a virgin. Yeah.
The New York Post is obsessed with interschool.
Yeah, it was bad.
Growing up here was a trip.
They tried a TV show my years.
Oh yeah, New York City Prep was your year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a terrible
Oh my
idea.
God.
I think it would go over right now though. Also, we like grew up in that era of like massive being this age is a weird internet era because on one hand now we're in this like mass exposure.
Yeah.
But like growing up, it was like this violent fear of the internet and like everything being permanent. Like my mom was like, "You will never get a job. Like if any of this happens."
Yeah, the girl who from Nightingale who was on that show, I think got expelled or suspended or something.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like. I even remembered. I thought I never had any interest in photography, but then I remember there was like 2 months sophomore year, I brought a camera out because I was in photography 101. and it was like, erase that. Like, that can't be on Facebook. Whatever is on the internet lives forever.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I'm like, dude, I literally get paid to do exactly what you told me.
Not
I was
to do.
not allowed
Yeah.
to do. I put so much crazy shit on Facebook. Like, I delete something every single day. There's something every single day in my Facebook memories. Like, I won't delete the app because there's something that I'm like, that's insane that you put that on the internet.
Facebook when we were growing up was
Oh my god.
a fucking free-for-all. Do you remember NYC Prep? Like,
Yeah.
NYC Prep problems?
Yeah.
Like that, like, there was like
We incited full like scale fights on Facebook.
there was that like Facebook like bathroom wall
Oh,
thing
I wasn't.
that, like,
I didn't have that.
okay, I was like a few years younger, but it was basically just like a text wall. It was like a bathroom wall that anybody could like go on and write anything anonymously.
Yeah.
Just like type in anonymously anything. There was crazy shit on there. It was like hot or not lists, like who was having sex with who,
Oh
like
my
who was
God.
where to get drugs, like all of this shit.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Do you remember homecomings? Like all the hills. When everyone is like, "How did you get into this? Like, how do you know where? Like, what's?" I'm like, we've been renting
this?
out since places since I was like really shouldn't have been allowed to.
The first time I was at One Oak was when I was quite literally, I think, 14 or
Yeah.
15. Like,
Yeah.
that was,
really
it was
bad.
like Horace Mann Homecoming.
Yeah.
And there was, that, like, OG photographer Kirill,
Yeah.
he was shooting it.
He was a man though.
Where's he at?
I don't know, but like he was like the guy to be seen by.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that was a crazy time, honestly. I don't know, I was so busy with sports too that I was like very in and out. Like I'd be on the scene for like a lot.
Yeah.
And then I'd be gone like every weekend, like traveling for basketball, which was honestly a huge
Like a blessing.
saving grace.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that I wasn't like all the way in it all the time.
Yeah.
And then sports like kept me like relevant because then I'd come back and it'd be like the season in school.
Did you
or
get
whatever.
recruited?
Yeah, I played in college.
Okay.
So it was like a whole thing where like I'd be like in it, and like also I felt like every time I came back there was something new. Like
Yeah.
I would be like, oh my god, I haven't like actually gone out in like a month,
Yeah.
and then I'd go out and they'd be like, yeah, this is the new spot.
Which happens now,
Dude,
also.
everything we did was about like trying to be cooler than we were. Like we used to go to this place DTUT instead
Oh,
of going to
yeah!
fucking Starbucks. Like just go to fucking Starbucks.
DTUTA is still around, I think.
But it's like more like a bar now, and they moved uptown. I went in
Yeah.
on a date. I went on a date to DTUT
Recently.
and the guy was like, and I was like, no.
He was still there?
I was like, this can't be happening.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like why was I literally 13 years old with my friends on like a vintage couch having fondue?
I know exactly
What?
the couch you're talking
Like, what am I doing?
So, wait. When did you have like your first kiss? When did you lose your virginity? It seems like you were
First kiss was
early.
5th grade.
That's early.
Yeah, it was a weird makeup in the hallway. It was very strange. Again, like, your class size is so small.
Yeah.
You guys are in school for 9 years together. Like, I remember, and there were like 2 guys in school who, like, were socially acceptable
Yes.
to hook up with.
Yeah.
I literally got in trouble at school once because, and so there was like 10 girls. Everyone in our grade was weirdly overdeveloped too. It was like sensory overload. Like everyone had huge boobs, and I was just like this like ridiculous looking kid who was like, oh my god, boobs are everywhere. And all my friends were like, touch them, and I was like, okay. I got in trouble once because the girls, I remember this so well because it was like the first time I was like maturing and like able to speak for myself. So it was after Frost Valley trip. The girls in the grade under were really upset because I let the boys in the 7th grade feel up the girls in our grade. And so the girls in the grade under like complained about it. And like I got brought into the principal's office and they were like, they said you let them. And I was like, do you understand what consent is?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't force anyone. I said, I'm sure she would let you. And I remember my principal, like, looking at me being like, okay, you can go. I actually didn't consider
Like,
that.
actually think about this
Yeah, and I was
at
like,
all.
I told 2 people to touch. I made them, and he was like, oh, yeah, you're totally right.
Okay, what was, like, your experience like, though, as a person of color in these spaces?
I think I definitely take advantage when I could, for sure. There's a lot of things that I don't think got to me the same way until I was, like, able to look at it in hindsight.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I had a similar thing where, like, me and 2 kids, like, these 2 kids, like, fought me. And one kid was black and one kid was white. And they both fought me.
Mm.
And when it was all said and done, me and the black kid got suspended and the white kid got a detention. Which just, like, objectively makes no sense. It's like either they both don't get suspended and I do. But it's weird to be like, 3 people fought. It was 2-on-1. Only the black people are getting suspended. Like, just, like, logically, everyone was like, what's happening?
Yeah.
So that was really strange. I think I used to take advantage because, like, the stereotype was that you take 2 trains and, like, 3 buses to, like, get to school for your education. I literally lived on Fifth Avenue down the street.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, I had this one, like, teacher who would be like, okay. I'd come, like, 2 periods late. And he'd be like, okay. Like, I get it. And I'd be like,
Shut
yeah,
up.
dude. Like,
Shut
I
up.
understand. Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, like, I was the only Indian girl in my entire grade. I think all girls school is just, like,
horrifying.
Horrendously worse than
my
all
sister
boys
went
school.
to Chapin.
Yeah, okay.
And she left.
Yeah. No, going to Spence was, like, one of the biggest mistakes of my life. People ask me all the time, and I'm like, maybe character building, and, like, maybe I wouldn't be where I am today without it, but, like, it was brutal.
Yeah.
And I've never in my life had issues making friends. I've never been, like, I wasn't introverted even in high school, but it was so tough, and it was, like, I think because I was partially, and nobody would ever say it, like, a person of color.
Yeah.
And then, but it was something similar where mostly people of color in our grade were on scholarship.
Yeah.
Or, like, prep kids. And so they were, like, their own little conclave of people. Very, like, mostly insular. And then I wasn't that, but I didn't look like everyone else. So, and maybe you had, like, a similar experience to some degree, but
yeah.
I think just being in all-girls school is, like,
all-girls school is way more
brutal.
intense.
Yeah.
It's, like, way more. I mean, girls are, especially at that age,
suck.
Just, like,
the worst people on
in
the
general.
planet.
Like, even my sister, I'd be like, you suck.
Yeah.
Like,
and my brother went to collegiate.
Yeah.
My older brother went to collegiate. He was, I think he's your age or you're beneath you. And he was collegiate K through 12. And when I was considering making the switch to Spence, he was like, don't do it.
I mean,
he was like, I don't know if you think you, like, are ready for this in the way that you think you're ready for this. And I was like, I'm fine. Like, I've always been fine.
I mean, boys are easy because it's literally, like, girls in sports are all we care about.
Yeah.
I do remember, remember, like, a little, like, the clothing thing came late. But it did start to happen. There was a bit of a divide. It started to happen, like, I mean, Browning was on 62nd and Park. Like, our, like, fire drill was in front of Hermes.
Yeah.
Like, so the clothing thing started to come in probably, like, around junior year, senior year.
By the clothing thing, you mean, like, clothing as which still happens in society now.
Yeah.
But clothing as, like, a signifier of wealth and status.
Yeah.
Like, at Spence, they had to, they banned logos and, like, certain brands of clothing from middle school onwards because girls would get bullied for, like, not having name brand Uggs, not having, like, the Lululemon. Also, mind you, we had uniforms.
I was going to say, it's insane because
insane.
You all had to wear the same thing.
We had to wear the same thing, but it was, like, how you wore that thing. Like, in the winter, you could wear leggings underneath your skirt. if your leggings didn't have like the Lululemon seam, like
Yeah.
the recognizably like Lululemon
dude.
seam, like, oh, you don't have Lululemon leggings if you're not wearing Supergas. I'm sure now it's fucking Golden Goose or whatever it is. Like,
Ours
you
were
would get
Todd's. Well, we had a dress code, so it was a little more
lax.
visible.
Yeah.
Because we could wear, like, it was, like, basically, like, jacket and tie.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, then everything was, like, free reign. Like, that's how we got into Chelsea boots, was, like, trying to work any angle of the dress code
Yeah.
system.
Yeah.
Of being like, okay, well, these boots are, like, dress boots, so I can wear them. No, it was insane. I had this my high school girlfriend ended up being from New Jersey. And she didn't know, but
that she was from Jersey.
that her mom was racist.
Okay.
To be clear.
Yeah.
And I remember meeting her mom for the first time, and her mom, it was like such like a weird moment because I was like, oh my God, I'm in Jersey, but this feels like the Upper East Side.
Yeah.
Because her mom didn't want us to date. She didn't say it, but it was because I was black.
Mm-hmm.
And she never met me, so she just knew like the bullets, and she was like, black guy, New York City, like plays basketball. I literally walked in the door and she was like, oh my God, you're so well dressed. And like,
You're like,
didn't
"What
you,
was that
you're not
right?"
6'6". And I was like, first of all, I'm 16 and I am 5'10".
Yeah.
And then I caught her, like, and this happened to my sister a bunch of times. And I was like, oh my God, this is what that felt like. But I caught this girl's mom I had a pair of Ferragamos and I took them off at the door. Like while we were in the kitchen, I went back to get something and I caught her mom checking my shoes out and being like, wow, good shoes.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But that happened all the time. And then her mom loved me. Her mom was like, we love the Upper East Side. Bet you do.
Yeah.
Every Jersey mom's dream is actually to be
on
from
the Upper East Side. Okay, we're talking a lot about high school.
Yeah.
What about now? What's your life looking like now? You're in Williamsburg. Do you live alone? You're working in nightlife and photography, and you're constantly outside.
Mm-hmm.
What's that like for you?
It's awesome. I love Brooklyn. When I moved back home, I was on the Upper West Side, which was weird. And then
Worlds apart.
yeah, moving to Brooklyn felt like I moved to Bushwick first, and now Williamsburg, and it felt like moving away without moving away. I think it's awesome. I kind of have like two lives. I feel like there's like a Brooklyn life. Like once I cross the bridge, I'm like this person, and then like when I'm on the other side of the bridge, I'm a totally different person, and like the communities don't really mix.
Okay.
What
are like the two personas?
I feel like there is a much more wholesome version of me in Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn.
For sure. Like I play on a co-ed basketball team on Sundays.
Nice.
Like we all get drinks after. My local coffee spot. Like everyone knows my dog and my order. And so there's definitely like that version. And then once it's dark out, I'm in Manhattan.
Crawl out of the shadows.
And there's a totally different person.
Camera in hand,
Yeah.
Android in the other.
The two pinnacles of my life.
Yeah.
My camera and my
What
Android.
the fuck is up with the Android?
I will just never. I think if no one gave me shit, I would have switched
Have an
over
iPhone?
for sure.
You just love the attention.
I love the attention. It's actually a conversation starter.
Yeah.
The more a girl says, I can't believe you have green text, I will never hook up with a guy with green text, is like a guarantee we're having sex within like 48 hours. Like 100%. If you're talking to me about my green text, like I have run into girls who are like very like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
They'll just like not answer my text. They'll just be like, oh my God.
That's crazy.
Yeah. They'll just be like, ew, wait, that's nuts. Anyone that responds, wait, what? Green text? I'm like, we're in.
We're so
We're
in.
Conversation, beginner, starter.
Yeah, I mean, but why? Like, how'd that even?
I was always like one step late to the phone game.
Sure.
Or like one step ahead, but then like everyone, which again, very similar vibes of like strict parents in private school world. Like I remember getting the sidekick too. And then everyone was like, that's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And then everyone got razors, and they're like, fuck, suck it. And then I got a razor, and then everyone was like, BlackBerry, though. So I was always like, what? And then I kept my BlackBerry for, like, while people were getting iPhones. And then my family was a Samsung family, like, before, like, everyone had iPhones. And then they slowly switched. And I just kept my phone.
You're like, you guys are fake.
Yeah.
You left
like,
me in the shadows.
They're all iPhone people now, too. Like, our family plan is literally all iPhones. And then
you... But you're keeping it because it gets you laid.
Pretty much. I also am, like, dad vibes when it comes to, especially a phone. Like, seeing me on an iPhone looks like your grandma trying to, like, work an iPad for the first time. Like, I actually, like, don't know how to use the camera. And it's, like, I just can't go through, like, the switch over. Like, I know what I know.
Now you're committed.
Yeah, like...
You'll, like, take the fucking pixelated photos.
I will do whatever. You guys are watching anyway,
yeah.
So... As long as you can see who's in the video, it's cool.
It's fine. It's fine. Well... I feel like you use social media as, like, what I would imagine your Facebook probably looked like. Has it gotten you in any trouble?
Honestly, I think I'm definitely more aware than when I was a kid. But for sure, dating is hard when I talk the way I talk on Instagram.
Sure.
That's honestly mostly it. Like, I mean, I've definitely... Honestly, it's the more, like, serious topics that get everyone in trouble that have gotten me in trouble. But usually people are just like, you're actually insane. Or they're like, I'm so glad you're saying what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Which is usually the case. I'm just like sometimes I just, like, see something and I'm like, the world needs to know right now. Like,
give us an example.
I wrote this thing about, like, I had just, like, read a cut article about, like, the weird gray areas of consent and, like, dudes that think they're incredible in bed because they choke someone. And I walked by this guy at a Halloween party. I read it, like, weeks ago, though. And I walked by this I was in this shitty Halloween party. And I walked by this guy doing nothing wrong. But he was, like, making out with some girl, and he was, like, choking her. And he just looked like he thought he was God.
Yeah.
He was like, my hands are around your throat. And I was like, I hate him.
Yeah.
And I immediately went into a corner and just, like, went off on Instagram. I was like, we don't know who you think you are, but we know some people, like, even some of my guy friends were like, damn, dude, don't out me like that. I am said what
I am that dude.
Yeah. You're like, I be joking 30 seconds in. And I'm like, fuck.
30 seconds in.
You hate to know that about one of your friends.
Yeah.
You're like, you're the problem.
You're that guy.
Yeah. Don't respond like that. Lie to me, you know?
At least you know now.
Yeah.
Public service announcement.
At least a lot of people stop joking. They're like, I don't know what to do with my hands now. Where do they go?
Where do I keep them?
If not around the throat. Where do we put? I was like, wow, it's a great... I was like...
Start selling a course.
Dude, first of all, as a black guy, you can't just go around choking. I'm more like hands up in there, to be honest with you. Like, I'm like, are you positive you want this?
Yeah.
You can't just joke.
You can't just joke.
Who knows?
Out the gate at a party is crazy. Well, I've seen it happen, and
I've seen it happen.
Guys, like,
and
calm
it's
down.
Like he's like more turned on than she is. He's like, I am crushing it right now. Like,
no, you're
her
crushing my
esophagus.
throat. Like, literally.
It's insane.
So, are you on dating apps, or are you mostly meeting people out?
I hate dating apps. They stress me out. Instagram is a dating app.
Yes. Instagram's the biggest dating app.
Yeah. And I'm constantly meeting people, so I think dating apps would be overwhelming as well. It also feels like a video game.
Yeah, for sure.
And that really concerns me because I'm definitely a person that could, like, fall into that hole of, like, what am I doing while I'm taking a shit? I'm literally, like, making human connections with people.
Yeah.
Like, that's a crazy thing that we do. I did it during COVID a little. which was really stressful because then when COVID was over, everyone had hooked up with everyone in a 15-minute walking radius. That was tough. And another reason why, you know, like, I see my friends be like standing in a bar and being like, oh my God, I've totally been talking to that girl over there for 2 weeks. And I'm like,
won't say anything in person.
you've been talking for 2 weeks?
Yeah.
And you're not going to go over there
And say
like,
anything?
no, that's weird. No, you're weird.
People have forgotten how to socialize completely.
I think it's just like a strange, I have, of course, as we all do, like some success stories of friends who are married and shit like that.
Sure.
But I think there's enough real life, like for me at least.
Totally.
A lot of people don't have enough real life and work from home and don't go out a lot. I'm like, totally get that. But for me, there's enough in person that I think I would lose my mind or accomplish no work ever if I did a dating app.
So you're not on them at all?
No.
And it's all been in person?
Also, it probably saves me a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Seeing someone, well, my friend, when I was, you know, I was on the Upper West, I was breaking up with a girl, and it was in that, just like we were talking about earlier, I was in that, it's over, but like, we haven't had the conversation.
Yeah, which seems to be a phenomenon with a lot of guys in New York City recently. A lot of my guy friends are like, yeah, we're done. And I'm like, when did it end? It hasn't yet.
It's true. We're in lieu. Like,
yeah, it's like impending.
Yeah. But I remember she like went to I was living with my girlfriend, which is also why we didn't do it. Because it was like the lease is almost up, like, and we're going to break up. I was like, we live together and we're looking for different apartments. Like, the conversation hasn't happened yet.
But we know.
Yeah. And she went to the bathroom.
When was this?
Like 2017 to 19.
Pre-COVID.
Yeah, I moved from the Upper West to Bushwick in 2020, so it was like...
With your girlfriend?
We, like, ended in 2020.
Okay.
Like, I moved into another apartment.
Okay.
And we, like, broke up. I was a terrible person these days, but I was on Hinge. And she went to the bathroom, and
While you were with her.
I was like,
Right.
lease is up in a month. We gotta like steamroll right into being single.
Right.
And I remember she went to the bathroom, and I was like, and she like, I don't know. I swear to God, I don't know how I knew, but like her friend, it was like 8 a.m. and she had a missed call, and it was like one of her friends that hates me, and I was like, her friend found my Hinge.
Yeah.
And I just like rolled over, deleted Hinge. And she came out of the bathroom and she was like, let me see your phone. And I was like, I fucking knew. My spidey senses were like, it's Hinge o'clock at 8.
Yeah.
Like, and I was
Time
like, here.
to get rid of this shit.
And she was like, just so you know, like, you have an old profile up. And I was like, you don't say. I'm going to go.
Download it and
delete
it.
Do the whole thing.
Thanks for letting me know.
Appreciate you so much. I really, you know.
Diabolical.
It was pretty bad. It was pretty terrible.
So thank God you're not on Hinge anymore.
Yeah, no, not good. Not good for me.
I feel like people say you're not going to meet your person in the club. Thoughts?
I definitely...
As two people who are
I'd
chronically
be
in the club.
I'd be in the club. You be in the club.
I do be in the club.
You be at Jeans, bro. I see you at Jeans.
It's walking distance from my apartment, so that is quite literally and I can always get in. You know, it's like the same thing you were saying. You walked up to little sister, they like give you a hug, they're like come in, like it's the same thing as Jeans, and I'm like, great, great. I can walk home. It's easy.
Do you think you found love in the club before?
No,
never.
I don't think so. Have you? I also just think the talent on the women end of things in New York is better.
Oh, agreed.
Yeah. So
agreed.
It's a little bleaker.
Yeah.
For me.
Well, there's way more, like, men have to be more than good looking and more than, like, we have to come to the table with so much more.
Really?
That women are honestly willing to accept less these days. They're like, oh my God, it's terrible out here.
Yeah.
Like, I'll take it. Like, I'll take 2 of them, actually.
I don't feel like men need to come with
well,
more.
that's the problem.
Because there's like you turn any corner in New York City and there is a good-looking, smart-driven woman.
Agreed.
So.
But also, these youths, man, these women.
Oh, yeah.
Diabolical.
What's wrong?
They are just savages. They are...
You think the women are savages?
I mean, destroying lives left and right.
Takes one to know one.
I mean, I've literally had a conversation with, like, a younger girl I was hooking up with and being like, I need you to understand I've been doing this for so much longer than you.
Yeah.
Like, just be honest, because I've done what you're doing 500 times.
Yeah.
Like, one time this girl was, like, hooking up with, like, another guy, and I was like, hey, we're not exclusive. Just be honest, because... we're having unprotected sex. It's all good. And she was like, I swear I love you. And I was like, dude. And I found out about a guy she was hooking up with.
Yeah.
I was like, first of all, I know everyone. So it's going to come back to me, like, no matter what. And I was like, here. And she was like, dying on this hill. And I was like, okay, let me help you.
You're like, let me level with you.
If I were you, here's how I would have lied. And I kid you not, she was literally sitting there being like, oh my God.
Taking notes.
Like, he is a genius. And I was like, this is what you should have done. And she was like, okay.
What should she have done?
I was like, first of all, you should have told me that you guys hooked up before. Don't go out with a full no.
Yeah.
Before we started seeing, come on.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? She's a blind no. I've never hooked up with that person before. No chance.
Yeah.
Like, we hooked up a little bit before. That's probably what they're referencing. They don't know that you and I are... And I was like, this is... like, they've taken my money. You know? They've ghosted me.
They're not even doing it right.
They don't even give a shit. They're like... like, a true ghost, I can never truly ghost someone. They're just like, yeah, I know we said we loved each other and you took me to the Prada store yesterday, but actually...
You buying girls things at Prada? Why?
Brutal.
What, like,
I've gone through a lot of mental health crises over my life.
What's like?
And like literally just never speak to me again. Like, thanks.
Okay, so do you think that you attract what you're putting out?
I think I am attracted to, like, I think that is the biggest toxic trait I have, is that like I actually attract like amazing women, and I am not attracted to them. Emotionally, right? I'm like, you kind of have to be a little bit mentally and emotionally disabled,
sure,
for me to like
lock in.
Yeah, like, you know, and it'll be like a girl is like, yeah, I think I'm gonna run for Congress and change the world, and I'm like, that's weird, dude.
Yeah, I'm a nightlife photographer.
Like, yeah. She's like gorgeous, like. She's like, yeah, I come from, you know, my dad has $100 million. I'm beautiful, perfect, and I care about people, and I'm like. I don't see it for us.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't see it.
You need a little bit of.
For sure.
Yeah.
I need some friction. I love people who hate me, for sure.
Sure.
But then it like comes to a point where you're like,
why am I doing
okay,
this?
like, stop hating me now. Like, we're together now. Like, stop.
Do you find yourself getting into like a lot of situationships or like longer term things, or are you like hooking up with people one off?
Definitely a lot of longer term things. I'm definitely a situationship guy. Sometimes I literally even have a girlfriend and I'm like, are you my girlfriend or is this a situationship? Because this feels crazy. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely like, I feel like it ebbs and flows, you know, like there is a season for one-offs. And then, but like I prefer to whatever extent, some type of like emotional connection, whether that's healthy or unhealthy, it can go either way.
Are you looking for something long term?
For sure, but it's like my criteria is not, I don't even want to say it's high. It's just like so specific.
What is it?
It's like you have to be good looking, smart, like all of the things, right? I'm really attracted to people that have a lot of shit going on themselves, because I do, and I don't ever want to like hold up the relationship.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, yeah, but you gotta kind of be mean to me also. You know, like there's all these like things that I am realizing I'm attracted to, and now I'm trying less to fight them and just being like, okay, accept it. You like this kind of person, and like you're not gonna get over it. So find the best of that world,
Person.
you know?
Okay.
Instead of like trying to be attracted to
People
a
you're
good
not.
girl, like whatever situation,
Okay.
just accept who you are. So all the evil people out there, I'm looking for you.
All the supervillains of New York City, DMs are open.
Wide open. Like treat me like shit. At least at first.
At least at first, and then.
Yeah.
Has that? But like, once they love you, like, are you unattracted to it?
It's definitely happened before,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah.
I think there's like a weird like maintenance of like, as long as there's just like a little friction. I also have to be like a little afraid like we're gonna break up. Also, like they're that like.
You want to feel like you could lose it at any moment.
Yes. 100%. 100%. Security is not for me.
Right. You want to feel in flux at all times.
Yes.
That's horrifying.
100%.
That sucks. I mean, you could definitely find that in this city.
Oh, yeah.
And in the spaces that we both occupy a lot.
I mean, I've met a lot of people who have found love in the club, though.
Yeah. There's hope.
There's hope. I think the club almost like whittles it down for you, honestly. And like, if you do meet someone you like, it's like, oh wow, because most everyone here, like, there's no connection. So everyone that I've met that has like fallen for someone that they met at the club, like truly fallen for them, have almost always like ended up in like very serious long-term relationships with them.
Interesting.
I feel like the club is like, okay, either we're like hooking up or
I found my soulmate.
Yeah. Like, what are you doing here? Why are you here?
Yeah.
This doesn't make sense. And you're both like, my friend dragged me here. You know?
Right. Well, I think you and I occupy similar spaces because you throw events also that are kind of motivated around like getting people to connect and like be, and like how did that really come about?
Fuck.
Was that the hard-hitting question? Like,
No, it's just like funny how we like started this conversation right before this. I had a bad breakup. I had two really bad breakups, like back to back. And a friend and I started writing a lot, and like I've always written a lot, but I started like posting
you're
the
right.
writing with like my photos, and me and my friend had this idea to do an art show based around the breakup. And what I noticed is like people were really like getting connected to the writing, the art, the lore of this woman that they've never met, and our relationship. And
Was she like okay with it?
so it's like two people, one very much so not.
Okay.
And so I really didn't reference her. Although when we started hooking up again, she was like, I can't believe you didn't talk about me. And I was like, you'd have killed me. You'd have sued me. And the other was fine with it. She loved it. Evil.
Right.
And yeah, I just was like, oh my, people are like so connected to this story. And then the art show was like a huge hit, a huge success. And I just found that like people going out, like sure, I've been throwing parties my whole life. But having a purpose in going out or something to connect to when they're going out, I think that was like the thing that like drove people to come and want to be there. It's like, I'm going out to like experience this thing I've been like following along for like months. It was literally like 3 months of me like this like constant diatribe of like, I miss her, she was this, she was that, she also
Kind of like
sucks.
performance art.
Super performance art.
Yeah.
I still have guys like come up to me like randomly. I was at a cookout and some dude I haven't seen in literally almost 2 years. Like, I don't even think he came to the show. He just watched on Instagram. He just came up to me and was like, yo, dude, I just want you to know, like, that shit got me through tough times. And I was like, that's not what it was for.
But like, slay.
Yeah,
Cool.
I'm down. Like, I'll take it. So yeah, it was funny because me, like, there was like a couple of weeks before the show, and obviously I got back together with the evil ex-girlfriend.
Sure.
And I was like, hi, sorry. So this show's in a couple weeks, so I have to keep talking shit about you on the internet, even though we're back together. No one can know. So, like...
She must have loved that.
She is one of the more terrible people I've ever met. She was, like, much older than me. Mm-hmm. She'd always be like, you'll get it. And I'd be like, why are you still doing this? Like, I hope I don't feel this way at your age.
Yeah.
Like, so she did love it. She enjoyed it. She was like, she loves, like, going out and, like, no one knows what she looks like, and like meeting a guy wearing my hat and being like, oh, I started that actually. My friends have like, I met some random old woman who said she started this, and I was like, she was probably telling the truth.
Yeah.
That's who I think it is.
Yeah.
She's telling the truth.
But now it's become like something so much bigger.
Yeah, and I love that it like originated around something real that's also very me. And it's, like, kind of cool to just, like, even when I get, like, caught up sometimes and, like, throwing parties, making money, doing all that stuff, to be, like, to see someone, like, go back and, like an old post. And I'm like, oh, my God, you know what? I should do something like that again. So, yeah.
Yeah, you see that it, like, people are vibing with it. Like, people are resonating with it. It's worth continuing to do.
Yeah.
Where do you see it going now? Is that, like, something that you want to pursue more, or are you like more into your photography, or is there something else? I know you just came out with a book.
I definitely am really into the photography right now, and just like producing media in general. I have a couple cool projects coming up. The book was like an amazing, crazy experience thing to do, and to like publish something that's like out in the world. The event and all the collaborations that went into it really made me like inspired again. Like I definitely was like hitting because you can do that too once you're established in an area. Just be like, okay, I know like this formula works. I can make money and like continue to like get better and progress my career and just like do these things. And if I do them, it and it just like inspired me to like do way more meaningful shit and try to like create things more. Even like the events, like having the book party was like people like flipping through it and being like, oh my God, I feel this, I get that. Reading, they're like, my texts are in the book, so they're like, holy shit, I've received that text before. And so it really like brought me back to that whole feeling that I got when I started in the first place. I think it's really easy in this industry to kind of get into like a mode of things and just feel like you're kind of on autopilot for a little bit. But then it takes that like one event or one project that like really sparks, you're like, oh shit, this is why I do it. And like this is why I want to continue to do it. And do it better and like do it bigger. I've even found like people are like the last few events I've had, like the hookup culture is returning to my events. Which before I was getting a lot of, I met this incredible girl that I'm like seeing now, like thanks to your event. And now it's like, dude, I've like the hottest chick yesterday. And like, you can literally like feel, and I'm like, I feel the difference of those parties though. And so I'm like, I understand why that's happening, you know? So like, just like, I've been like brainstorming, even when on the event side of things, like what are like meaningful ways to bring people together that can still be fun and people can still like party and hook up, like whatever you want to do, but having some type of like underlying connection element to the event. Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I'm there. I know, I feel like, especially you, like you're so good at what you do, especially when you figure out all the kinks, you know? It's like, okay, I need a sponsorship partner, like, and then I need to do that, and you just like can do it. Like someone was like, wait, isn't next week too soon? I was like, no, I can put that together next week. Exactly. And it'll be fine. And while that's great financially, sometimes I'm like, actually, like, I want to take a break and... you're like, oh, I'm like
I'm doing this thing, and maybe it's not as like exciting, but it's like something that I'm just doing.
Yeah.
And I've been in that place before also.
For sure.
And there are times that I'm like, I'm just doing it to do it, as
Yeah.
opposed to like, I'm really excited for this one. Like,
Exactly.
and it's gonna be different. It's gonna be cool or whatever.
Yeah.
It's hard like to keep things fresh because you know that something works. You want to keep doing it, but at the same time you want to keep evolving. You want to keep growing, and you don't know whether or not those things will hit in the same way. But
100%.
I think, you know, when you get to the point that like you and I are both at, you luckily have like some partners or sponsors or venues or whatever that you can go to and be like, I have this idea.
Yes, for
And
sure.
they will back you on it, and they see the vision. Like, that's great. So, you know, kudos to you, to everything that
That's
you've built.
definitely a little bit of like a safety net
Totally.
feeling of like, at least this place will let me try it.
Yeah.
Versus before where I was like shelling out dollars I didn't have. And
Really?
my mom was like, what are you doing?
Were you were like paying for stuff when you first started?
Yeah, I mean, because it was like that whole art project was the first time I ever worked with a sponsor or like anything like that, because it was photography only up until that point. So when that happened, that was like my first like, oh, like this is how that works and this is how that works. But prior to that, I paid for so like that art show was such
Interesting.
like a love child that I was like, every single thing I'd be like, okay, cost how much? Well, I want it that way. So
Yeah,
like,
I'm gonna
doing
invest in it.
Yeah.
For people who are listening who want to start something similar, what's the advice that you would give?
Talk to people that you know in the industry for sure. I kind of just like went after it and didn't really, you know, it's paid off since. But definitely like have conversations, use the people that you know. If you can start small, for sure start small.
Yeah.
I went really big on my
The
first
first
event. And you know, again, thank God we're here now.
Yeah.
But also really, you know, invest in your community, because I have some people who started really small, you know, 9 people at a dinner table kind of thing. And the more you invest in people, the more they invest in you.
Yeah.
And that's been a fun thing
Totally.
to do, is when someone's like, why are you going to this birthday party? And I'm like, well, we're not that close, but they come to all my parties.
Yeah.
So
So
why
I'm
would
gonna
I?
show up to for
Yeah.
this person, and like you never know where that connection
Exactly.
will lead you. Yeah. I would say something similar. But I like the way I built this was like no money in. Like I was operating like super lean.
Yeah.
It was just but it was all based off of like networking and connections and like talking to the right people and just convincing people of like my idea and getting people on board being like, yeah, okay, try it.
Yeah.
And it was successful, and like it kept gaining traction, but it was all about like the people I met along the way, the people who I supported, who supported me back.
Exactly.
And that's so important, and it's still so important.
I think also that confidence element of, and just like not being afraid to reach out. Like,
Yeah.
The first, shout out Project 91 and Todd. It was COVID. I had no idea how to use a camera. I just got my first point and shoot and finally put down the Fujifilm disposable. And I DM'd Todd just as like they were picking up. They didn't really have any photographers ever. It was a illicit party that was like bending the COVID rules at that point. And I DM'd him and I said, you need me. And he was like, okay, what's your rate? And I Googled what my rate should be.
Yeah.
And I brought a big SLR camera that I had no idea how to use.
Yeah.
Just for visibility. And I walked around with my point and shoot for the whole party. And after, he was like, that was really cool. People loved it. Come back. And then I was like, all right, time to learn how to use that camera this time.
Totally.
So, I don't know, people reach out to me all the time. And I'm like, yeah, come. Like, sure, of course. You want to do that? Like, you like actually never know. And the worst thing anyone can say is no.
Yeah. I feel like that's kind of how you did it. We met at one of my events, and then I think you just like DM'd me and you were like, can I shoot? Like,
You need a photographer.
Do you
I
need
was
a-
like, I could take photos.
yeah. And I was like, okay, let's
I
try
know how
it.
to do that.
Yeah. I was like, all right, let's try it. One event, like, shoot for me and let's see how it turns out. And he was great.
Yeah.
And
And
then from then it was just like, now we're here.
Yeah. I feel like that's how it happens.
Yeah.
Like, you never know. You also never know who you're talking to, also.
Totally.
Which is a huge thing. Like, I've, like, had, like, lock-in conversations with, like, the most random people during a party. And then, like, woken up to, like, a DM from someone from a crazy company being like, we would totally love to partner with you. And I'm like, wait, was I talking to the head of brand partnerships at GQ last night?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's do that. Like,
Yeah. No, it's like, especially in New York, like, you have no idea who
You
the fuck
never
anyone
know.
is. Like, two of my guy friends, they're like food influencers, and they were like making content at some steak restaurant, and the guy sitting next to them like started asking them all these questions about it, and they just like started talking to him about it. He happened to be like the head of Sports Illustrated, and he like was like, quit your finance jobs, I will pay you your salary to come and work for Sports Illustrated and shoot content for us. And now they have like over 1 million followers and are like fucking huge.
It's just like, you like, one, you never know.
Yeah.
And there's so many, like, levels of connection and degrees where, like, it actually matters how you treat people so much.
Yes.
Because even if that person doesn't hold that job, their friend does, or
Yep.
their friend's friend does. And especially with social media, and, like, how easy it is to share in a person's entire personality and be like, hey, look at this guy.
Yeah.
Click, click.
See what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also in hospitality, everything's so connected. Like, people that I, met 5 years ago when I like first started and maybe were like a bartender somewhere,
Yeah. Oh.
or now like a manager someplace like really sick.
my
And it's
God.
like, just because you were kind to that person like a few years ago, you kept in contact, whatever, like, you have no idea where that's going to lead you down the line.
Key tip in general, be good to your bartenders.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, you never know what that bartender's day job is. Second of all, heavy pours when you're nice to your bartender.
That's true.
Like, all of my bartender friends are, like, now doing so many cool things. And, like, they're the people that I went to hang out with on a Sunday. They're the people who I had a shitty night out on Saturday and I drank my problems away in an empty bar on a Sunday. Like, those things are, there's absolutely nothing you can do but screw up your life by being shitty to a bartender.
Yeah.
Like,
Being kind to a bartender is a great.
like that's just
a
like
great-
a good cardinal
Yeah,
rule
absolutely.
to have across the table, because those people are the most important people
Yeah,
in the entire establishment.
absolutely.
100%.
Okay, and we've been yapping for a while. There are a few things I just want to touch on before we finish. Where we're at now, relationship-wise, like, what are you looking for?
I definitely am looking for someone who is supportive as well. With the stuff I do, with this energy that I have, especially right now, it can be hard. I'm out with a lot of women
Yeah.
all the time.
And late at night, it's
Late
really
at night.
difficult.
It
Yeah.
genuinely, like, truthfully is hard.
Yeah.
For the strongest people.
Yeah.
And also, like, there are a lot of things that I do that, like, take a long time to come full circle and to be like, trust me on this vision.
Yeah.
And so, obviously it's easy to date someone with a really standard job and the same schedule as you, but so really someone who's supportive, who
Understands what you're doing.
I don't even necessarily need, like, someone who's in the same industry
Yeah.
or field. I actually prefer that they're not,
Yeah.
to be honest. But just someone who, like, gets it. And
Have you ever dated somebody who's in the same industry?
not really, to be
Yeah.
honest.
I feel like I haven't really either.
I think the crossover would be,
A lot. Yeah.
it's like going to, like, I never dated someone from the same school as me, and my school is small, and I just, like, saw so many people crash out post breakup. I was like, I never want to do that.
Yeah.
So definitely not dating someone in the industry. But yeah, someone who's got, like, a lot going on and someone who knows themselves very well is huge. The older I get, knowing yourself looks a lot different, and someone who's like comfortable with who they are and knows himself well is huge.
Yeah. Do you want like family or kids?
I love children.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of money in children. If there was more, I probably would have done it. My mom's a teacher, so the kids have always been a thing for me, so I definitely want. Also, you know, the narcissist side of me who doesn't want a little mini me.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? So yeah, for sure.
There's a pretty big DJ right now who like is throwing parties for like they're like little raves for like parents and their like tiny children.
That's sick.
And I was like, yeah, that's cool.
Like that's a dream.
Yeah,
right there.
for sure. Okay. We're going to do what we call shots.
Okay.
So
When do I take the sip?
you can, like, the minute I start, I will prompt you, but, like, the
Okay.
minute I start asking questions, you'll just be drinking.
Got it.
Yeah. Are you ready to do some
Yeah.
shots? Okay. Start drinking. Pepsi or Coke?
Coke.
Delivery. Drink.
Okay.
Delivery or sit-down restaurant?
Delivery.
Bus or train?
Train.
Country or city?
City.
Morning or night?
Night.
Call or text?
Text.
Instagram or TikTok?
Instagram.
What's your typical Sunday?
Drinking.
What's your favorite season?
Fall.
What's your favorite song at the moment?
I love Dom Kennedy.
Rate yourself out of 10.
11.
And if you had a boat, what would you name it?
Stella.
Okay, that's it. That's a wrap.
Wow.
If you're interested in meeting our guests, you can go to our Instagram at drinks.first. In the link in bio, there is a form to match, and it will also be in the description of the podcast link. Thanks for thanking.
I'm
so much
super
for coming
cute.
on.
I promise. I swear. My apartment's huge.
Awesome. Okay, yay!